Hi, this is Sarah Mikesell with the Cattle Site, and today we're here with Bob Lowe. He is the past president of the Canadian Cattle Association, the current president of the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef, and on top of that, he's a cattle rancher in southern Alberta in Canada. So thanks for being with us today, Bob.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking me to be here, Sarah. It'll be good.
Very good. And today we want you to tell us a little bit about the Canadian cattle market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're here in the United States, obviously, but as we were talking before, you said it's sort of like there isn't a border, even though there is a border, right? Tell us how the Canadian cattle industry is working. The U.S. has record high prices, high demand. What are the kind of things that you're seeing in Canada?
It's just the same. I mean, basically the U.S. dictates our prices. We have a way smaller herd.
Yeah.
I think there's 330 or 50 million cows in the United States and about a tenth of that in Canada.
Got it.
So they dictate our prices, and it's record prices. It's really nice to be selling things right now.
Right.
You know, backgrounders and feeders are kind of quivering because we're paying way more money for cattle than we ever have before. But it's the industries are almost totally integrated. You know, the 49th parallel, for all intents and purposes, unless politics enters the picture, doesn't play a role in the cattle industry. We bring feeder cattle into Canada. We send feeder cattle to the U.S. Very few fed cattle come into Canada to get processed, but we ship a lot of fed cattle south to be processed.
Mm-hmm.
Feed. I mean, we've fed corn from Iowa at our feed yard.
Yeah.
If we can't grow it, we import it from the States, or feed goes the other way across the border.
Mm-hmm.
We do things the same. We all speak the same language. It's a North American industry is what it is.
Very good. And geographically, where are the cattle in Canada?
Most of them in Western Canada. I'm from Alberta, which has, I believe, 50% of the mother cows in Canada and 80% of the feeding capacity.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Alberta, it's big.
Right.
Then the rest is spread out. Saskatchewan is probably second, then Ontario. It's spread out across the rest of the country, but it's mainly in Alberta.
Excellent.
Feeding industry mainly in southern Alberta. We have irrigation, sunshine and irrigation, and that makes for a good feeding area.
Excellent. Very good. So tell me a little bit about what are some of the things, and when we were talking before, what is different that you see? What are some of the differences you see between the two industries? I know there's a lot that's similar, but
really, I would say the main difference is there's a cattle cycle, and that's every 10 or 12 or 14 years. Nobody can ever predict it, but high prices like we have now will tend to get cattlemen to keep more heifers, which leads to higher prices because there's less to be processed. But to keep more heifers and build the herd.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, we had BSE hit in 2003.
Right.
And we export 50% of our production, and our border's closed, so we had to eat it.
Right.
And price of cattle got down to virtually nothing for a while. And producers are like, I don't know, I'm probably a little bit older than the average producer, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
And people just got sick of it and they just left and they haven't come back. So we've maintained or maybe dropped a little bit over the last 2 or 3 cycles, where the U.S. is still doing what it does, increasing the herd when the time says and decreasing when the time say. But in Canada, we've been pretty constant.
Right. So in other words, you're not getting ready to potentially go through a herd rebuild like the U.S. industry might be, although they've been telling me that for several years and I haven't seen it yet. So
I would really hope we do rebuild our herd. We need more cattle. Well, the reason the price is so high is the global demand for beef is huge.
Right.
And we're traders. We sell to the highest bidder. So
right.
If
these kind of prices can't bring the Canadian industry back, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, I bought calves, well, they'd be coming yearlings just before I came down here for just under $3,000 a head at a 600-pound calf. So
wow.
The people producing those calves, that's got to be a trigger that says, I need more cows,
Right.
but it hasn't happened for 2 or 3 cycles, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'd like it to happen, but whether it does or not, I don't know.
Very good. Well, I just have a couple more questions about beef consumption in Canada. Tell me a little bit about that. Your consumer, is it different than the American consumer? Or?
We probably consume on a per capita basis a little less than the Americans. I don't know the numbers.
Yeah, that's okay.
I did see a graph the other day that shows our domestic consumption per head per person, I should say, is
Right.
way down. But what that graph doesn't take into account is we've had like 10 million new immigrants coming into Canada
Right.
that aren't big beef eaters.
Right.
So I don't think it's the Canadian, people who've lived there forever are eating less. I think it's just we've got a lot bigger population in the last
Right.
8 or 10 years.
Kind of a shift in the dynamics there is maybe skewing those numbers a little.
Exactly, and I think that's what it is. But I mean, we'd like everybody to eat 100 pounds of beef per year, but I know I do. But I'd like everybody to do that, but people don't, and that's fine.
Right.
We don't have enough cattle to feed us anyway, so.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for all the information today, Bob. Really appreciated, enjoyed visiting with you.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Very good. This is Sarah Mikesell with the Cattle Site.